Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Currently in Star Citizen, we have little tiny spawn rooms in Port Olisar, Grimhex and Levski. We can also log off in our ship beds, but visiting one of those areas currently sets that area as our spawn point for when we log back on or die. Beds in ships are just log on and log off points rather than proper respawn points. The rooms are tiny though, there is no customization or persistence, and they only serve to have us spawn there at the moment. I wanted to talk about what we're getting in 3.3.5 and the future of Habs, Hangars, and customizable persistent player spaces. Each Hab block in Lorville on Hurston can hold around 100 players, and they can and will add more Hab blocks and residential areas throughout Lorville based on player population. There are whole residential sections of that city that they can expand into. For Alpha 3.3.5, these are places to log on and log off, so they need to have some character as we don't have them persist with us yet. They will, however, act as a big player hub. The building's there, there's a lot going on there, there's going to be loads of little bits of flair and lots of pre-made character for those buildings, as if someone has been living in our room before us. It sort of like represents our character living there from day to day. In the future, you will be able to rent and customize your Habs. You can keep it tidy, ordered, chaotic, have items there to aid you, or keep it bare bones. Things that were previously hangar flare, like pictures and models, will be able to be placed around your Hab. You'll be able to store clothing, armor, weapons, and small items around your Habs. They have also shown functional coffee machines and things like that too. We know we'll be able to pick up pretty much any object and place pretty much any object around. But basically the idea here is to have Habs for players to store things, Habs for NPCs to effectively live in, and have those Habs customizable to players' liking, and then for them to also persist. We don't know if you're going to be able to buy Habs outright too. It does depend on how they want the economy to work. It might also be based on planet, building, and location. Full persistence is required to have true customizable Habs that are physicalized and persist between sessions. Expect a range of types, qualities, sizes, all that sort of jazz. Totally different looks of Habs across various planets in game, possibly alien ones too. The Banu seem pretty chill. I'm not sure if the Xi'an will let you buy sort of apartments on their worlds, because they probably don't trust humans too much, but we'll have to wait and see. Some people will certainly try to live their entire lives planetside. Outposts are also available for players to build with a pioneer. Outposts will have a variety of functions, acting as player bases, places where you can exploit the land of a moon or planet using ships or built structures. They also have discussed the possibility of storage or landing pads being built for ship storage, or at least ships to persist there when you log off. They've confirmed, though, there is no tents or sleeping bags for portable Habs planned. So you're not going to be able to go, I'm just randomly camping out in the middle of nowhere and log out. Well, you will be able to, but you might not be able to do that safely. In the future, when you die, you will go to a medical facility. Shorter term, you'll still spawn at your last Hab location that you visited. This could be Grimhex, Levski, Lorville, all that sort of jazz, Port Olisar. Potentially some of the rest stops might have little Habs there as well. But there is a hospital in Lorville and in ArcCorps Area 18 that will be used for that respawning purpose in the future. Some medical ships will also allow for respawning players. It remains to be seen if you can build an outpost with that functionality though. Hangars. So, Hangars in 3.3.5 are going to operate pretty much in the same way as we have now. There's no plans for private hangars in 3.3.5 in the persistent universe at this stage. Hangars in the future are going to be available for players to rent and potentially buy. They have said that they want to physicalize hangars too. Exactly what form that will take remains to be seen, but they've got the space for it. There's lots of ways they could deal with spawning ships in the persistent universe, so they could have an internal structure of hangars that they say is like underground, that spawns in a ship and then brings it up on a lift and loads it out. The player could then fly it out of the roof or the side door. In fact, this is almost certainly how public hangars and landing zones will work on the future, especially in busy areas like we have in game now, but maybe a little bit more polished, so they spawn and despawn ships out of your sight. Private hangars will be customizable though, with you being able to store ships there, put flair on the walls, other items there, lots of customization options there. Now, we don't know at this stage if you can or will be able to buy additions to a hangar that you own or rent for like more cargo space or to store more ships. They've talked about what they want with it, so they do want players to be able to rent space for like cargo, dropping off big hauls of things, storing and hoarding certain cargoes. Like this is going to be people with Hullies are probably going to hoard a load of materials and hope it goes up in price, that sort of stuff. And they do want players to be able to store ships, but we don't know exactly if that's going to be buying more hangars, buying more separate rental space that's on a different part of the planet, or if you can just add it to your hangar. One of the concepts for hangars previously that they've talked about was to allow the addition of extra rooms and facilities to be added on, and they were building out UIs and stuff for that previously. Some ships come with hangars, like the Aurora, for example, coming with a self-land hangar. These will be choosable locations in the future in UEE space, or at least that's the current intention. It's possible that some of these hangars might be available in other zones too, admittedly. Stuff like that changes in Star Citizen all the time. In fact, pretty much all we're talking about is subject to change. They will have first like level implementations of it and then evolve the mechanics out based on feedback. And also they do have new ideas about how to handle stuff that are sometimes a lot better. So we'll have to wait and see. But there will be a limited selection of areas. As far as I'm aware, these hangars are also permanent assets, as they're still selling upgrades for hangars in the store even at the moment. So that does also lead me to believe that you will be able to buy hangars in the future. But again, we'll have to wait and see exactly what form that takes. Larger capital ships won't be able to land or be stored in these hangars, though. There might be some areas on some planets, there might be some public landing zones on lower gravity planets that do cater for capital ships for whatever reason, or like big like ship dockyards or whatever. They've previously talked about safe areas for capital ships to log off. Basically, players all logging off with enough beds on the ship will allow the ship to despawn safely and respawn once you log back in. Larger ships would be able to dock as well with certain stations using their docking ports. Obviously, they do need to be able to transfer cargo, fuel, get repairs, and that sort of stuff. For some players, ships are just going to be the only home a player knows. Pretty much any ship that has a bed, in fact. It allows safe logging in and out. Players don't need a hangar, really, actually. After they've spawned their ship, they can just use public hangars to do all their business if needed. They can just stay in space if they wanted to, or land on truck stops. Now, obviously, they could do that, but that would be cutting out a portion of the game for them. Once we have full persistence, which is one of the pillars to release, once ships are spawned in, they will exist there and can't be spawned in elsewhere, unless they've been put into storage in that location, and then they can only be spawned from that location where they are stored. They did confirm you'd be able to spawn any vehicles or parasite ships or docked ships at the same time that you spawn in a larger ship. So something like a Idris, you'd be able to spawn in all the ships that would be in its sort of like bay at the same time. For those of you worrying about physicalized hangars and Habs and the amount of space they have in the verse, don't worry, there is a huge amount of space for cities and areas to expand to in the verse. Also, economy-wise, they would raise the prices for docking fees, rentals on Habs, and hangars and cost of fuel, rearming and repair in certain areas. And this will be dynamically done, I believe, so that the market helps balance the amount of players that want to live or operate in a particular area. It should come to an equilibrium. If too many players want to go somewhere, well, they'll raise like the costs of living there, because there'll be a load more demand and less supply. So, you know, it's economics, yo. Something I did want to talk about is how are they going to handle ships on landing pads, like if on Port Olisar, someone lands on a public landing pad that isn't meant to be logged out on, but they just sort of land there and log off. Now, would they be breaking the law by staying on that pad for too long? Maybe they get shot or pushed off or whatever. Maybe their ship just despawns after a certain amount of time and they get some sort of like fee. Maybe they get charged something and they'd have to go to another area to go and pick up their ship, and like it gets detained. They could do things like that. Some form of tow truck would actually make a lot of sense for clearing pads off. Or if there is someone's there for too long, maybe it becomes free salvage or something like that, and they have to reclaim their ship. As hangars and Habs are planned to be physicalized, you should be able to give access to other players as well, potentially even share them with org mates and parties. Again, this is unconfirmed, but probable. They've said they want to have hangars visitable by org mates and that sort of stuff. So I'm assuming there is sharing options coming. And one of the pillars to release is those org features, and those like additional party features are constantly being built into every patch. There was a panel, the Mod Squad at CitizenCon, where they talked about how they built Habs for Lorville. I thought I'd give a quick summary of that panel now, as it seems to be related to what we were just talking about. The Habs in Lorville are built in modular sections. They build out a little Hab area, how big they want the room to be to whatever metrics they've got, and then that becomes its own object container and is then placed in a Hab block. Habs will have very different looks and feels between planets, brands, and sometimes even between buildings on the same planet. They build out the areas very roughly for each of the Habs and the Hab buildings, mapping out the spaces for metrics. Then they break it up into sections and assets needed and how they want to fill that. A Hab might be very bare bones, utilitarian, or more luxurious. You might have very basic toilet shower combos or cooking areas with just like a microwave, or a fully featured kitchen and ensuite bathroom with all the future conveniences that the game has to offer. These assets and areas are white boxed out first and then moved around to make a Hab room. All these rooms are built on the same metrics though. Sometimes they build a few base variants with beds or areas moved around a bit, but they all contain the same base features. And this is specific for the Lorville ones that they're going to have in 3.3.5. In the future, obviously, there's going to be lots of different types of Hab room. They're not all going to be exactly the same size. There is going to be lots of variety there. So in the short term, we're going to see lots of little items and clutter, assets, and character for these rooms as if they're being lived in regularly, even though effectively they're not, and they don't persist with us. They will be, we'll spawn in a random one in 3.3.5 every time. There are loads of modular parts that go into each of these Hab rooms though, both interior and exterior, and all of these parts can be reused for each room or similar buildings, and to give lots of different variety and changes to each of these rooms, while still giving the same feature set. All parts are built with very specific metrics using meters squared typically. Then each block can be a 1x1 or a 1x2, and then are built together like Lego. The animated elements like openable doors on cupboards are then added separately, so all of those animated things need to be added separately. They then add little props to help with the character and the storytelling of the environment. Annoyingly, they move these props slightly and offset them to make them more realistic. That is not realistic in my house. Keep things in their place perfectly. This is awesome because it looks like this will allow for a huge amount of customization to our rooms in the future, being able to swap out whole sections of walls with functional kitchens and worktops. Areas can be built very easily. They can add a couch, and itself is actually modular, the couch. They can make the couch as long or as small as they want. They can then add a TV and a table, and they have a little viewing area. And with the render to texture tech in the future, this could allow for some pretty awesome potential gameplay in the future. Some of these Hab block buildings will have very rough basic connections from the entrance to your door. Literally just wham bam to your door. Very, very horrible looking. Others will have vast open lobbies and scenics. We'll have a lobby type area, some sort of like more public zones in these Hab blocks in Lorville in 3.3.5. They can change vastly the ways walls and modular pieces look by changing their materials or their primary, secondary or tertiary colours, or even the lighting in the area. They also add VFX, you might have working fans moving dust and fog and sparks and things, or giving a little bit of extra character. The Habs we are getting in 3.3.5 are small, but significantly larger than what we've previously had. Also, they're just starting to show us what potential there is for the future of these player living spaces. Customizable, persistent player spaces are super important to get right. As we've seen, it's easy for the devs to change colours and add parts to a Hab. Hopefully players will get the ability to do full interior design of their rooms though, as Star Citizen is pushing that Space Sim Second Life universe simulation now. I'd love to be able to fully change the colours and worktops in my room, change the walls into wardrobes and utilities, really make my place functional. But everyone's going to want to express themselves in different ways, especially with these player apartments and Habs and that sort of stuff. But please tell me what you think about Habs, hangars, and what types of player customization we may have in the future, and what you'd like in the comments below. My radar have provided a new Anvil Valkyrie to give away. All you need to do is to be subscribed to my YouTube channel and then comment on any of my Star Citizen videos made during October. October. My Radar is a mobile app for iOS and Android that provides up-to-the-minute weather information in the US, Europe, and Japan, with service in Australia coming in by the end of 2018. It allows Star Citizen players to view detailed maps of the moons in-game as well, Yela, Selin, and Daymar. A new version will be released this month that includes new features, including outpost markers and updated maps. Also, if you're looking to get or upgrade a gaming PC, then consider Shadow instead. Shadow is a subscription-based cloud gaming PC service that can turn most devices, phone, laptop, PC, tablet, and more into a powerful gaming PC via the internets. Links to more info in the description for that, and if you do decide to try it, then use the code BoredGamer to get a discount on the service.